Edelbrock versus Holley is the age-old debate, which is better, which performs better, and why. I will say they both have their strengths and their weaknesses.
Big car, old and heavy, wanna ride a 56 Chevy.
The Edelbrock, or Carter, as they were before, is a really simple design, and most people can rebuild these or learn to rebuild them fairly easy. And they also will store fairly well because there aren't any paper gaskets below the fuel line. And most of the time, after sitting for a while, they'll just need a new accelerator pump, so you can pop the top off, accelerator pump, and spray out some ports. So Edelbrock wins for simplicity, and Holley wins for overall tuning capability. But we'll pull this one apart and get it cleaned up. If you lose these little clips, most of the rebuild kits will come with new ones. These tend to fly across the shop and go into another dimension. The accelerator pump lever right here, you can change the ratio slightly by going in or out, and so I just put a mark on where they had it set before. These top caps right here, they hold in the metering rods and their springs. When I've got the top plate off of an Edelbrock, I like to pull these out and at least get pressure off of them, because when you put the top plate back in, sometimes they don't want to settle into the jets quite right, and I've seen people bend these before. So I just pop the caps to the side and let those come up just a little bit. Right. Some of the most critical parts about just a quick rebuild or a get it up and running is the needle and seat. So this is what allows fuel into the bowl. This is the seat and this is the needle, and the float puts pressure on that. So when the bowl is full, that's nice and closed. When they sit, they tend to get a little ridge right on this sealing surface and allow fuel through. And so you might be able to get one started, but then it starts to flood out really bad because it's just pushing too much fuel straight through it. The other item that usually needs attention in these after sitting is the accelerator pump. And this just sits down in here and it squirts a shot of fuel when you hit the gas. Also take note of the screens on the inside of the needle and seat. On the Edelbrocks, there's no inlet filter right here. And so these screens are the only thing keeping garbage and junk out of the carb. Overall, this carburetor looks to be in pretty good shape. It's got a little bit of corrosion in there, but it should clean up fairly well. If this were a project that you were just trying to get going at home, you would probably be safe just to do a needle and seat, accelerator pump, and a new top plate gasket. Since this one's in here at the shop, we're going to tear down the primaries and the secondary jets, the accelerator pump squirter right here, and clean out everything, make sure everything's good to go. And on the accelerator pump, there is a little check valve right in there. So a lot of people will drop that in the dirt and it'll be gone forever. So just make sure that you don't drop that out. As I take apart the carb, I like to put the different items in their sections and kind of place them how they go back into the carb. I'm ready for round 2. What we've done is we've cleaned up the bowls right here with a little bit of steel wool, sprayed those out, and then right in here are the primary jets, these two, and then back here are the secondary jets. I typically like to just clean those in place with a little jet cleaner. Taking them out, you can damage them, and there's really no reason for it to come out as long as there's not a lot of corrosion. If the carb is really gummed up, then you'll want to pull them out. After that, I like to spray this direction through the jets, and you really want some safety glasses on or something, because it's amazing how fluid can come out of places you weren't expecting, and you just get it right in the eyes every time. So I like to spray out primary jets, secondary jets, and then the accelerator pump passageway goes from here down up. So I like to spray through there. We got that little check valve out, which is just this little ball and then this little brass square. Those sit right in there. And then I just try to spray around, get all the grime off. And then spraying out your venturis. These are your primaries, and I like to just spray through all the different passageways, and there's a bunch. You've got bypasses, you've got vents, you've got all sorts of stuff. You want to make sure all that is nice and cleaned out. So anywhere you can find a little port, just spray through it, get a nice shot through, and again, you're going to have carb cleaner spraying out everywhere, so watch your eyes. And then once we've got all of these cleaned up and all those ports cleaned out, then we're going to line up our new gaskets. A lot of the kits are meant to service multiple carburetors, multiple models, and so you may have parts that you don't need. Like this is a little plug for the newer style accelerator pump on the bottom, but this carb doesn't have it. And so just go through and match up the new parts with all your old parts that came off. These ones are slightly different, but they'll still work. This is the old one, and this is the new one. We've got the base all put back together. We're going to set that aside and assemble the top plate. If there are differences in the height of your needle and seat, it'll change your float adjustment slightly. Easiest way to adjust the floats on an Edelbrock, or get a 7/16 drill bit, and you want that to make contact right under there. And so these are a little bit high, so we're just going to bend it down just a hair. That's about right.